Welcome back to the Cars Ireland YouTube channel. I've just spent the week with the Tesla Model S, and this is a car that I am very, very excited to show you around. Now you'll have to excuse the drop in production values for this week as our cameraman's on holidays and it hasn't stopped raining for more than a half an hour over the last week. But the good news is most of what's cool about the Tesla Model S I can show you from right here, including the make and model I'm driving today, which is this one right here, or the 2019 long range Model S. Not the performance model, otherwise known as the one with ludicrous mode, but that's okay, and it is still pretty quick, believe me. Now you might have noticed a bit of a change in the naming culture here, and that they're no longer named after the battery size, so there's no more P75, P85, P100 or P100D. Instead, it's just standard range, long range or performance, with no indication as to what is what on the outside. There's a few different reasons for that, the main one being that as battery technology progresses, the size of the battery is becoming less relevant, whereas the efficiency and performance of the battery is becoming more important. Now this long range version has a 100 kilowatt battery and a WLTP tested range of 610 kilometers. Now, that will of course depend hugely on how you drive it, and even Tesla themselves will admit that ranges between 450 and 500 kilometers are probably a bit more realistic, but with some owners reporting easily achievable distances of up to 570 kilometers on a single charge, which is pretty impressive stuff. And that right there is the price tag for this one, which is pretty impressive in its own right. So first things first, which is a quick practicality lowdown. The boot measures in at a massive 745 litres, which you'd never think from that sleek silhouette on the outside, but it is absolutely huge in there. And then with no pesky engine under the hood, you get an extra 150 litres in the frunk. Now backseat legroom is reasonably generous depending on who you're sat behind, of course, and then a completely flat floor is great news for middle seat passengers. The front of the cabin is quite minimalist, with most of the focus on tech and of course this massive 17-inch high-resolution touchscreen which controls pretty much everything about the car. This one is finished in a very nice premium cream upholstery with oak wood inserts, and you'd never actually guess it, but it's not real leather. Tesla have committed to using this more animal-friendly fake stuff in the interest of sustainability, plus they claim that it's actually more hard-wearing. The stuff on the steering wheel, however, is real for now because it's heated. So I don't even know where to start with this, there's just so much to it. But one of the big questions I've had this week is it distracting having a screen this big beside you while you're driving? And I'd have to say personally, I haven't found it to be so. Firstly, it's not particularly bright, and you can also change the view so that there's not a whole lot going on. I usually just leave it in map view, for example. So I wouldn't say it's any more distracting than your typical touchscreen in any new modern car. Although if you're coming straight out of a 99 Corolla with a tape deck, it might be a slightly different story. Although at this price point, I'm not quite sure that's going to be the case. So you've got your basic car controls. You can open and close the doors, the frunk, the boot, the charging port, heat the seats, move the seats, adjust the seats, set the temperature, play music through your phone, or just listen to the radio. Other entertainment options include Netflix, YouTube and Spotify, which you can sign into directly from here. And if you're wondering about internet access, it also comes with a built-in SIM card that gives you free in-car Wi-Fi for the first year and is available for a subscription service for €100 a year thereafter. It's a pretty fast connection too, and you can use it as a normal internet browser. Netflix and YouTube are disabled while the car is in motion for obvious reasons, but they are a great way to pass the time while you're waiting for a charge or maybe to collect a romantic date, and this is where things start to get really silly. A new software pack has added a toy box full of new features, including romance mode, which makes the car nice and cozy. I'll say no more. You can also make any individual seat fart on demand, choosing from a comprehensive list of different fart noises, and make your indicator signal into fart noises too. Kids absolutely love this feature, and by kids of course I mean me. You've also got Christmas mode, a sketchpad, life on Mars, and a whole suite of arcade games, all of which I am equally terrible at. Now, I realise a lot of that stuff might seem a little bit silly, and that farting indicator is hilarious and all as they might be. are probably not going to be a good enough reason for most people to part with more than 100 grand. But the thing about the Tesla Model S is that the driving technology underneath is so impressive that it can almost afford to be that little bit silly in certain places. Now, I've already made my sad face about this not being the performance model, but it still offers absolutely explosive acceleration with a 0 to 100 kilometers an hour time of just 3.8 seconds. In fact, it's actually uncomfortably fast at first, but once you get to grips with it, it's pretty hard to keep the smile off your face because it just feels so well built to cope with that speed in a really natural and comfortable way. Then that dual motor sign on the back means that it also happens to be fitted with one of the most sophisticated four-wheel drive systems on the market, meaning that it feels very sure-footed no matter what driving situation you happen to be in. You've also got the option of choosing an automatically adjustable adaptive suspension, meaning that the car does the thinking for you, so it will firm or soften up depending on the driving situation. For example, it would get quite firm on the motorway where you want that extra little bit of control. So as a driver, there's very little that you actually have to think about for yourself. And to be fair, some won't be so keen on that aspect, and personally I would probably still have to give it to the Jaguar I-Pace in terms of actual driver engagement, just because it requires that little bit more input. But at the same time, sitting behind the wheel of a Tesla Model S is still an immensely enjoyable experience. So to talk some boring type figures, my average energy consumption for the week has been about 29 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Now bear in mind that when you have a Tesla for a few days, you do tend to take advantage of that fact. So I wouldn't exactly say that I've been taking it easy. And when it comes to range in general, I'll make the same point that I always do. There is nowhere in Ireland that's going to be off limits to you at this type of range, providing of course that you keep it charged regularly at home, which in my humble opinion is how this whole thing works best, because it takes the public charging network and its current limitations pretty much out of the equation. So at this level, it really shouldn't be an issue. So to summarise, the Tesla Model S is every bit as impressive as you've probably heard it will be, in that it's loads of fun, you can go really fast in it and feel vaguely good about yourself for saving the planet at the same time. But with its new, younger and cheaper brother, the Model 3 on the scene, is the Model S now becoming old news? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Like and share if you enjoyed the video, and join us back here next week where we'll be briefly returning to petrol power.